All right then. So we are starting the second part of coordinate geometry today, right? सबने previous part revise किया है ना? You're aware about all the formulae that we learned. What all did we learn in the first part? What all did we learn in the first part? We learned basically about point. We learned about line. These are the two things that we learned, right? Right? What all did we learn? We learned how to locate a point, how to find distance between 2 points, right? Then how to find a point that is dividing a line, how to find a point which is dividing a certain line in some ratio, how to find a midpoint, right? Then how to find the distance of a point from a line, right? We learned different equations of line, slope point form, 2-point form, slope intercept form, right? ऐसे अलग अलग forms हम सीखे line के, and then we did questions around it. Fair? Correct? You remember that? है ना? तो ये दो चीजें हमने कल सीखी है, right? Right? चलो. So now let us begin the next part of coordinate geometry. यहाँ पे हम beyond point and line, which we learned earlier, now we will move to shapes, right? We learned the same in geometry also. Geometry also we started with point, line, lines of any angles, and then we moved to triangle, quadrilateral, and circles. So similarly in coordinate geometry, we started with understanding a point and a line, and now it's time for us to start understanding shapes. But before we do that, I would want कि कल का I would want that we just have like a quick recap of what we did earlier, and I want you to solve these questions. Solve this. How do we find this answer? We need to find origin is what? 0, 0. So we want to find 0, 0, 0, 0 is the distance. What is the distance formula? Basically, in place of x and y, we put 0, 0. So this becomes 5 into 0 minus 4 into 0 plus 10 divided by root of a square plus b square, right? Which is, this is mod of 10, 10 root 41. So the answer is 10 root 41. Fair? Correct? Good. Do this. Next one. How do we solve this question? Again, we put x as 5 and y as 3, right? So 10 into 5 plus 6 into y is 3 plus 3 is mod divided by a square plus b square, that is 10 square plus 6 square, right? What's the end answer? The end answer is 50 plus 18 plus 3. 50 plus 18 plus 3, 21, 71. 71 divided by 136, 136. So 71 divided by 136 होगा. और ये 136 भी जो है ना, it is basically divisible by 4 is what we know, because 36 आ रहा है last two digits. So 4 3s are 12 and 12 16, 4 4s are 16. So this will be under root of 4 into 34. तो under root of 4 हम बाहर निकालेंगे तो वो 2 root 34 हो जाएगा, right? So answer will be 2 root 34. 71 divided by 2 root 34. मैंने बस 136 को 2 root 34 लिखा है. Any confusions here? No, na? Give me thumbs up if we are cool till here. Yes? Very good. Now next question. We are doing 5 recap questions. Do this one. Find distance between two lines. So when do we find distance between lines? Only when the lines are parallel. For lines to be parallel, we need A and B to be same, or A and B ka ratio to be same. A1 by A2 is equal to B1 by B2. Is that true? Yes. Here also it is 1x, 1x, 2x, 2y, 2y. So this is same. So distance is calculated as mod of C1 minus C2 करेंगे हम. Minus 3 minus 5 divided by under root A square plus B square. That is 1 square plus 2 square. That is 8 divided by root 5. Correct? 8 divided by root 5. Fair? ये होता है parallel line का distance. ये हो गया. Then next, do this one. What will be the equation of line? Cutting lines this and this at the same point and parallel to x plus y equals to 0. Do this one. All right then, let's do this. कैसे करना है? What will be the equation of the line cutting these two lines at the same point? इसका मतलब ये एक ऐसी line है जो एक पॉइंट के थ्रू जाती है, जो पॉइंट इस लाइन को भी सेटिस्फाई करता है, इस लाइन को भी सेटिस्फाई करता है, और हमारी जो थर्ड लाइन है, इट सेटिस्फाइज दैट थर्ड लाइन एज वेल, राइट? सो वी नीड टू फाइंड इट. सो दिस बिकम्स, हाउ डू वी फाइंड इट? बाय साइमल्टेनियसली सॉल्विंग दीज टू equations. How do we have? This is 4, 10, subtract this from this, ऐसे कर देंगे. 3y is equal to 5, y is equal to 5 by 3, and what do you get? X accordingly, x will also become 5 by 3. So then the point through which this line is cutting, this point is basically 5 by 3 comma 5 by 3. Once we have this point, we need to find the something that is parallel to this. Parallel to this as in, what will be parallel to it? Parallel as in the slope will be same, right? The slope will be same. What is the slope here? Slope is minus a by b, minus 1 by 1, right? Which is minus 1. So we know the slope, we know the point. We should be able to slope point form. Using slope point form, we should be in a position to find this line, right? So either we do that or we clearly use the parallel lines concept. What does parallel line say? If one parallel line is in x plus y plus 0 equals to 0 format, the other parallel line is going to be x plus y plus some c is equal to 0 format, right? Because the coefficient of x and coefficient of y ratios are same. A1 by A2 is equal to B1 by B2 is not equal to C1 by C2 for parallel lines, right? So this C can be anything, right? And this C has to be something that is equal to, in such a way that x plus y is equal to minus C. And what is x plus y here? For us, x is 5 by 3, y is 5 by 3. So basically this equation here, if we actually we do this, it's okay. If actually we do this, it will be basically x plus y is 5 by 3 plus 5 by 3, that is 10 by 3, right? So then this makes the equation 3x plus 3y is equal to 10. Do we have it in option? Yes, we do. And that is our right answer, right? So either we use slope point form, y minus y1 is equal to m into x minus x1, or we do this, that because these lines are parallel, a and b value are going to be same for both the lines. It is that c value will change. So x plus y has to be equal to something. And that in that equation, this point is present, 5 by 5. That's why we can say x plus y is 10 by 3. Clarity? Do we have clarity? Yes, very good. All right. What do we do next? Solve this question. How do we solve this one? Here we say Radhika starts walking from a point minus 3, 1. She reaches point x and then takes a left turn to reach point 3, 3. Such that the distances traveled before and after taking the turn are the same. So find the coordinates of this point x. She walks straight line in x and y plane. Either she's going up or down or left or right. That is how she's walking. So if she's walking the straight lines, she's gone to some point x and then taken a left turn, right? If we try and imagine and plot this, all right. So let us plot the points. This is minus 3, 1 and this is 3, 3. So she must have gone here and then turned left, right? She went here till some point and then turned left. Whole point is, the condition is the distance traveled before the turn, the distance traveled after the turn has to be the same. So what is this point we have to find? Now, so far, whatever questions we did were direct formula applications. They were direct formula applications. So in direct formula application, what happens is that you are able to directly identify this is to be applied and you are able to solve. But the moment that doesn't happen and the same questions come in, what problem? We feel like, oh, what is this? I don't know. Oh my God, right? And that is where the ability to solve questions comes. Okay? So solving CAT questions are two-part thing. One is what problem is given to you and you interpret it into maths. And second is to solve math, right? Now, how should your brain function? Not just for coordinate geometry, but overall. I also told you this thing for multiple questions during arithmetic. I've also told this to you during doubt classes when we solved some high-level questions from practice sheets. But overall, I have told you this approach and keep this approach in mind. What we do is, whenever we see a big problem, we first understand it. We break it down. So we broke it down by drawing this grid and we understood, okay, she's walking and then she's taking left and these distances are same, right? Now looking at this, everything that we know about coordinate geometry, about point and line should come in our memory. It should flash across our mind. That what all do I know about points? What do I know about lines? What all can I apply here? Even if you're not able to spot the smartest and the shortest way to do this question, it's okay. As long as you're able to crack it at the end of it, right? Because eventually Like let's say you end up looking at some question for the first time in a mock or a test, and you might not just know the smartest way, but you will definitely know some way or the other if you have attended all my classes, because there's no concept of maths or no concept of that will be asked in your CAT that is not covered here. Everything is covered, right? So you can say, okay, I don't know the shortest way or the smartest way. Definitely, I know some way or the other. So I'm going to draw, I'm going to imagine, and I'm going to now remember whatever I know about the things that are given or asked. So here points are given, lines are given, distances are given. So I am going to do whatever I know and find the answer. And then probably after I have spent time and solved the answer, etc., while I'm analyzing the test or while I'm analyzing and looking at solutions, at that time, then I can go and see if there was a smarter way to do it. But at least I attempted. So right now, your intent shouldn't be let me find the shortcut. It should be if I'm able to crack the maths that goes beyond these words and understand what I'm supposed to do. So here, what all do we know? We know there are some points. There is some point X, right? And we know there's a starting point and there's some end point. S and E, I name it, right? So there's a start point, there's an end point. We know that the distance of start point to X is equal to distance of end point in X, right? This is first thing I know. So what can I do is I have to find this point X comma Y, right? I have to find X comma Y such that these distances are same. If these distances are same, I know, and this is, what is distance? Under root of X minus 3, right? Square plus Y minus 1 square. That is equal to EX distance. That is X minus 3 square plus Y minus 3 square. This is first thing, right? Let me shift this diagram a bit towards right so that it doesn't interfere, okay? This is my point X, starting point and end point, right? So I know for a fact the distance is under root hota hai, but both sides there's under root, right? That's why I know for sure that distance is same, right? This is the first equation that I'm getting. Let me solve it. How do I solve it? Rather than expanding, one thing is you can expand here, right? You can expand here. You can be like x square plus 6x plus 9 plus y square minus 2y minus plus 1 is equal to x square minus 6x plus 9 plus y square minus 6x plus 9. Fair? So x square y square gets cut, x square y square gets cut. Then what all 9 and 9 gets cut? Is there anything? 6x? No, it doesn't get cut. So we have 6x and here minus 12x. So total it becomes 18x. Then, oh, sorry, this is y. This is y here. Huh? This is y. Okay. So 6 and 6, 12x. I have 12x here. 12x. And this becomes 4y. Right? Is equal to how much? 8. This is the equation I ended up being at. Now I have my first equation. Which is right. But I need two equations because there are two variables, x and y. There are two variables. So I'll need two equations. Where can I form second equation from? Right? So you should start thinking. And let's say you get stuck here and you don't understand that where do you form your second equation? What should you think? At this point, you start thinking that can I find some other relation? Definitely I can. I see that these two are at 90 degrees with each other. These two are at 90 degrees with each other. So what does it mean? This means that the slope of Sx into slope of Ex is -1 because these lines are perpendicular. So if these lines are perpendicular, I'm going to get that. So what is the slope of Sx? What is the slope of Sx? Remember y1 minus y2 upon x1 minus x2, right? So this becomes y minus 1 upon x plus 3. And what is the slope of Ex? And I have just taken point x as x comma y. So this becomes y minus y1, which is 3, x minus x. And I know multiplication of these two is -1. So let me bring one equation from here. Okay, so from here I'll get the second equation between x comma y, and then I'll have to solve both of these equations simultaneously in order to find the value of x and y. But the moment I look at this, I already realized that this is going to be a quadratic again and difficult for me to solve. So if it is going to be a quadratic which is going to be difficult for me to solve, what am I going to do? I am given options, and options are given for a reason. So remember this throughout. Remember this throughout and remember this consistently, that whenever math starts getting too complicated or calculations start getting too complicated, you have to understand that it always will be about evaluating options. Whenever there are way too many variables, way too many long calculations, you should know that is not CAT question. CAT questions are not of that nature. There has to be some trick. And wherever there is a lot of algebra, evaluating options and trial and error method is always a smart method, right? So I would want you to use trial and error right now and tell me what the answer is. Yes. So here, if you evaluate options for, if had we taken only one equation, let's say we take only this equation, right? We end up taking only this one equation. So which values among A, B, C, D? Okay. One really important thing about trial and error is that you are supposed to check all the options. You cannot stop at one because it's trial and error at the end of it, right? So you have to check all the options, right? So what do you get as answer? A also satisfies, B also satisfies option, right? A also satisfies it, B also satisfies it, right? First equation. Yes or no? Give me thumbs up. Yes, right? So now we start looking at the second equation and we evaluate these two options for the second equation, right? So when we evaluate for the second equation, we understand that this ends up being the right answer. And this is where we stop. Okay, so option A is the right answer. So these are the two conditions that were supposed to be taken. If you look at this question and you got confused, कि अभी करना क्या है? What are you supposed to do? So understand that it's about breaking down the question, imagining it, visualizing it, and at that it is going to be about something or the other that we have learned in the class. I assure you that 1000%. Only in questions, only in chapters like number systems or miscellaneous. There are some miscellaneous questions that come generally from mathematics in general, right? Those are not type of questions. There is no bucketing of those. What do we do is, what do teachers, or usually what happens is, we look at the previous year, a few miscellaneous questions from CAT, and we try to teach you 2-3 questions of each type, right? Those are aside. Those are general mathematical aptitude. There's no guarantee that similar such question is going to come or some other thing can also come. It's just those 2-3 questions. That keeping that aside. When it comes to some concept and not general mathematical aptitude, you will be equipped with each and every concept that is there, right? Because those aptitude questions again have like 10 different ways of solving, right? But when it comes to conceptual questions, you will be taught everything. And whenever you look at a question that belongs to a certain chapter and you're able to identify and spot, oh, this is coordinate geometry, or oh, this is triangles, or oh, this is profit and loss. The moment you know that and you feel like you're getting stuck with the question, always remember that no, wait, let me break it down bit by bit. Let me analyze and find out whatever I know, because I know everything that I'm supposed to know about this chapter. If not, let me open my formula book. Let me see what all concepts have I learned in class. Something from there only has to come in use. So whenever you solve question, I would urge you deep dive like that. Now is a time when you don't just sit and be like, oh, this is a doubt. You deep dive. And when you start crisscross, scratching, scrooching and solving all by yourself, that is where the confidence comes from, that I'll be able to approach a question. That is where the confidence comes from. It comes from deep diving into one single thing. चीर फाड़ करना एक चीज का, वहां से कॉन्फिडेंस आता है. 10 बार गलत करके जुगाड़ करके सही करने से कॉन्फिडेंस आता है, because we learn the aptitude and the approach to take mathematical questions head on. Okay, so this was about the recap, right? We start with learning triangles first. Okay, now what do we know after point and line? It is triangles, right? So first thing we are going to learn is about area of triangle. What is the formula for area of triangle? Let's say you are given a triangle which has 3 coordinates, right? The triangle has 3 coordinates. What is x1, y1, x2, y2, and x3, y3? Right? These are the 3 coordinates. So for the area of any triangle with these 3 coordinates is given as, just memorize this area. It's given as x1 into y2 minus y3, and I'll write it niche. Area of the triangle is given by this formula: x1 into y2 minus y3 plus x2 into y3 minus y1 plus x1 into let me write it further below. Sorry. So it's x1 into y2 minus y3 plus x2 into y3 minus y1 plus x3 into y1 minus y2 mod of this. Mod of this, why? Because we'll take positive value. Even just in case this ends up being negative, area can't be negative. So we have to take the absolute value of it and all of this divided by 2. which is basically half of this. Half of this. And what is this? This x1 by 2 by 3. Cyclicity, you have to remember it is cyclic. It's 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 1, 3, 1, 2, like that. You can't change the order. Right? If you're taking 1, 2, 3, either you go 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 1, like that. And 1, 2, 3, that x1, 2, 3. And then from here 2, 3, and then 1. Then this started with 3, again 3, 1, 2, like that. Either you do this or be like, I'll take ulta. I'll take 2, 1, not 2, 1, 3. I'll take 3, 2, 1, 3, like that. That is also okay. But usually I prefer this one. Take any one direction is what I'm meaning to say. Right? So remember this, and this is how you find the area of a triangle. Are we good? Understood? Just memorize this formula. है ना? कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं होनी चाहिए इस फॉर्मूला में. Okay, this is the formula used for finding the triangle. After that, we come down to the centroid of a triangle. What do we know about centroid? What do we know about centroid? We know that if this is a point x1, y1, this is x2, y2, and this is x3, y3. What do we know about the centroid? Centroid connects a vertex to the middle point here. Right? What is the middle point here? What is the midpoint? It will be x2 plus x3 by 2, comma, y2 plus y3 by 2. Right? Middle point is going to be that. And what is centroid? Centroid divides this medium in 2:1 ratio. So centroid at the end can be found using section formula. We can apply section formula and divide this segment, which is joining x1, y1, and these. Right? And dividing in the ratio of 2:1. We can do that? Yes or no? We can, right? We can definitely do that, but we will definitely not end up doing that. So there's a formula for this. The centroid of a triangle is given as x1 plus x2 plus x3 by 3, comma, y1 plus y2 plus y3, comma, 3. Okay, so this is what centroid will end up being. Okay, fair? So this is a centroid formula. कैसे methodically कैसे निकला? Through the section formula only, right? But formula is this. Remember, memorize, write it down. Now next we move to understanding. We knew there were 4 attributes we learned, right, about triangle. One was centroid, but then there was incenter, circumcenter, and orthocenter also. Incenter was angle bisector, the point where angle bisectors meet. Circumcenter where point where perpendicular bisectors meet. Orthocenter is point where altitudes meet. Right? So there is supposed to be a formula for all these 3 as well, but we end up not delving much into it because you won't end up getting questions, right? There are no direct questions that come, but because I told you about centroid, I thought it is imperative that I tell you about this also. Yeah, so as I was saying, there are supposed to be 4 attributes. I told you about centroid, and now it's about incenter, circumcenter, and orthocenter, right? Now, how do we find each one of them? So, technically speaking, if I tell you honestly, this doesn't really directly come in CATka scope because the formulae for them either are too complicated or you can find them using the concepts of coordinate geometry in general. Like centroid also, even if you did not know the formula, there was a way to find centroid using section formula, which we learned in the first part of the class itself. Right? First part of coordinate geometry, we learned how to find it, but still a simple formula ended up being, so we learned that. But when it comes to incenter, basically incenter is center of a circle that is formed inside. The center of a circle that is formed inside the triangle, right? Center of a circle that is formed inside the triangle, right? So there's a formula for it. The formula is, let's say this is point A, B, and C, where A is x1, y1, this is x2, y2, and this is x3, y3. So if this is the case, then the formula ends up being A x1 plus B x2 plus C x3 upon A plus B plus C. And same goes for y also. है ना, ये अगर x, y है, then this is A y1 plus B y2 plus C y3 upon A plus B plus C. But then what is this A, B, and C? What is this A, B, and C? I'll tell you. A is basically length of segment BC. A will be length of this segment, B will be length of this segment, and C will be length of this segment. Understood? So you'll have to find the length of each of these segments, which we will find using the distance formula, and that length will have to be inserted as A, B, and C here. Okay? So A, B, and C is length of जो vertex A है उसके opposite वाला is length A. Vertex B के opposite वाला length B, and vertex C के opposite वाला length C, and that is why A has x1 and y1. So with x1, the length of the segment opposite to it is going. Right? So this is the formula that we have to keep in mind. Either you keep this formula in mind or the concept in mind, right? So this is incenter. How do you find circumcenter? Circumcenter. All right. Circumcenter is basically all points of the triangle lie on this circle. So you have to find the circumcenter, right? Circumcenter O, let's say, and there is A, B, C. So the method to use here is to understand that all these points A, B, C are equidistant from the circumcenter O, right? Because they all form the radius R. They all form the radius. O is also the radius, OB is also the radius, OC is also the radius. So if you are given A, B, and C, you can find circumcenter. Circumcenter O is a point which is equidistant from all of these. So you will take x comma y as a point, right? And you will equate the distance between OA and OB. And then you will equate the distance between OB and OC. So you'll have two equations and two variables, and you will be able to find what is the value of x comma y. So the trick here is to understand that A, B, C are equidistant from point O. So there's no direct formula for this, but this is the concept. Okay? There's no direct formula, but this is the concept. Understood? And how do you find orthocenter? Orthocenter basically, again, so for orthocenter, you are like, okay, let me take altitudes. So how do you find, this is the intersection of altitudes. So what do you basically say? You see, I have x1, y1, I have x2, y2, I have x3, y3, right? So I know this is a line. If I know x1, y1 and x3, y3, I can form the equation of this line using the 2-point form. Now, once I can form the equation of this line using 2-point form, I'll have this equation of this line L, and I know this point x2, y2. Can I find the distance of this perpendicular? I can, right? I can find this line which is connecting a point and line. So I have to find a line. So basically, I have to find the equation of this perpendicular, a line which is perpendicular to my line L. I can find the equation of line L using 2-point form, and then I have to find a perpendicular to this point, to this line L, which is passing through this point x2, y2, right? So I know this point, I know the slope of this perpendicular because it is perpendicular to this. So I know the slope of this. So using slope point form, I'll be able to find equation of this line. Now, once I form equation of this line, and then I can form equation of another perpendicular. And then I can find the intersection. Intersection, जो भी spelling है, हाँ. So this will end up being my orthocenter. So there are no direct formula, but there are concepts. So you should know property. You should know what orthocenter is, and you are good to go, right? So using 2-point form, you find the equation of this line. When the equation of this line you know is called slope, or you don't even need the equation of line, you can directly find the slope, right? x1 y2 minus y1 upon x2 minus x1 से ये इसका slope निकलेगा, इसका slope निकलेगा, तो ये perpendicular का slope निकलेगा. Once you have this slope and you have this point, using slope point form, you find the equation of this perpendicular, this line. You find equation of another perpendicular similarly, and you find their intersection, and that ends up being your orthocenter. Give me a thumbs up if you conceptually understood how to find these things. Yes, yes, everybody. I want thumbs ups from everyone. Yes, so this directly doesn't come in CAT. I'm again reiterating, but just in case it does, I want you to help your brain cells develop in the direction of how to think in coordinate geometry. So even though every formula directly doesn't exist, at the end, every shape and everything is made using lines and points. Every shape, triangle and quadrilateral, is made using points and lines. And you know everything about points and lines already. So that is where you will be able to find this also. ठीक है, तो formula wise हमने area, we learned area of triangle, we learned centroid of a triangle, and these are proxy concepts. Okay, now basis that, let us start solving question. Find the area and centroid of the triangle PQR with the given coordinates. Tell me. How will we solve these questions? We will directly take up the formula. We know the area. Area is found by, this is x1, y1, x2, y2, x3, y3. Note this already so that there's no confusion. And we know area is x1 into y2 minus y3 plus x2. और यहाँ पे मैं x3 लिख ही देती हूँ. हाँ, यहाँ पे y2 minus y3 था, यहाँ पे y3 minus y1 होगा और यहाँ पे y1 minus y2 होगा. Divided by 2. Correct? Did I take anything anywhere wrong? No, right? 4 and 9, 9 and 2, 2 and 4. Good. All right. So end up solving this. This is 5. 5 and this is 30. So this is minus 30. This is 7 sevens are 49. This is minus 2, 10. This is minus 10. Mod divided by 2, which is 49 minus 40 is 9. 9 by 2, which is 4.5. So 4.5 units is the answer. This is the area. 4.5 units. And what's the centroid? Centroid is 6 plus 7 plus 5 by 3, comma, 2 plus 4 plus 9 by 3. So this becomes 18 by 3, comma, 15 by 3, which is 6, comma, 5. So this is my centroid. Direct formula application. Good. Very good. Let's do this. Yes, this one thing. Find whether the following sets are collinear. And now you'll be like, ma'am, you didn't tell me this. You didn't teach me this yet. But I'll tell you what. I didn't teach this to you directly, but you are in a position to solve it already, and I'll tell you how. So here, not here, here. Here we learned area of triangle, right? We learned area of triangle. Now, whole point is when 3 points are given to you and they form a triangle, you get an area. If 3 points are given to you and their area ends up being 0, it means this third point which I drew is actually on the line only. And these 3 are in the same line, so there's no area to the triangle. So how do you find the concept of collinearity? If there are 3 points given to you, and you are supposed to find if these 3 points are collinear or not, which means do they lie on the same line or not? You are like, okay, 3 points usually form a triangle. If they are not on the same line, they'll form a triangle, and if they form a triangle, they'll have an area. If their area ends up being 0, so I will know they are collinear. So this is how you find. So area of triangle is equal to 0. It means the points are collinear. This is the corollary of area of triangle. Okay? So using this, tell me, some of you take A, some of you take B, and some of you take C. There are total 27 समझ लो alphabet types. 26 होते हैं. ठीक है? So it gets divided as 999. Usually in class, our teacher used to make us do it. If your name starts with first 9 alphabets, you are group 1. Beach ke 9 alphabets, you are group 2. And last 8 alphabets, you are group 3. And then would make us solve. Tell me A, B, and C. So what we'll do is we'll find area of each of these and we'll end up getting this is collinear, this is non-collinear, and this is collinear again, right? So you have area here 0, area here 0, and area here not 0. So accordingly, you will end up getting an answer. Are these the answers? Confirm? Yes. So this is how we end up solving it, right? So this is how we find if the area of the triangle is 0, it means all of them are lying on the same line.